So, with what you just said then, that, how did you say it? We can have,
How is it that we can put man on the moon, we can make automobiles to do all kinds of things, fancy automobiles, we can get them to warm our seats, so we got a nice place to sit. We can get everything that we could used to be able to get on a computer in a big office, we can put into a little cell phone, but we all can't figure out what is the real religion. What is the tell-all religion?
well, my theory on that is that the reason why first of all, would you really want the world to have one religion? Because this leads up to something that I'm talking about with, my co-writers and people with, and leading up to my question about would you want to have one religion? What would your answer to that be? Would you prefer the world to have one religion?
I don't think I'd want them to have, 7, whatever, how many religions are there in America? Just in America.
There's a lot, but...
So, is it...
Would you prefer one religion?
Are they all right? I wouldn't think that they're all right. I mean, some of them believe in certain major things that others are totally against.
So
they can't.
But see, still, would you prefer the world having one religion? I'm still waiting for that answer.
I would think that there would be one religion.
Okay.
I would think that there would be. I know if it's right? I don't.
I almost can assure you, based on my research, that one religion would not be right. Because that is, in fact, what the New World Order is trying to lead everybody into, is to there being one religion. And unfortunately, that religion that the New World Order is supporting and is trying to, and is pretty successfully imposing on society, is Luciferian satanicism. So to have a world where you have one religion would be almost like a dictatorship, because whoever was the head of that religion would be erasing every individual's freedom for morals and ethics, and you'd be required to follow whatever that religion's morals, procedures, principles, ethics are. So if you have one religion in the whole world, then you're taking away every individual's freedom to make their own mind up about what their morals are, what their beliefs are, what are their ethics. Because if you have to follow that religion, then that religion is everybody's morals, it's everybody's ethics, it's everybody's principles. Now, you can't have everybody in the world believing the same thing, because evolution has already proved that people are way too different in order for everybody to think the same way or to believe the same principles. And would you really want to be in any type of religious building or situation where you're sitting next to pedophiles, murderers, and rapists? Because they're all welcome under the umbrella of this one religion, also known as the New Age Luciferian New World Order? I wouldn't. But that's my own perspective and my own perception. I don't want to be a robot. I don't want to have to jump 5 feet when the government or a religion tells me to jump 5 feet. I want to be able to figure out what makes sense to Chloe and make sure that while I'm finding those things out, which I think for most people takes a lifetime, I'm being a good person and I'm trying to be a better person than I were yesterday. I'm trying to overcome things like being sober, living without my daughter, not being able to work or I lose my health insurance.
But those are all things that one religion would still satisfy.
How?
Well, how? Is there, for one, you haven't totally said, you don't know what religion you necessarily are.
I know that
So,
I must be Christian, but because of the paranormal experiences that I have experienced and situations that you have been there and experienced with me, it confuses me because Christians are not supposed to have any awareness to those things. So I was baptized. Even though I'm adopted, I did find a certificate in some stuff that said that my biological mother took me to some church in central Massachusetts and had me baptized. And it was a weird little church, like 2 sizes of the room we're in right now. And then when my daughter was born, it was very important to me, without knowing why, for her to be baptized. And she's baptized up at the church over by New Hampshire. So I tried to follow that church, and it felt like it was about monetary importance versus trying to explain to an adult who had never had anybody explain or try to educate about religion. I then went over to the TNSA, and I thought that it kind of made sense to me. I didn't understand why we didn't have a God, that it was only principles, and I was never educated on what it fully meant to be a spiritualist. So I'm still stuck here saying to myself, I'm not sure what my religion is, but how would the world, what world would I live in if everybody had the same religion? All religions can't be right, but all religions can't be fully wrong. There has to be a reason that over all of these thousands of years, these religions have followed through with the evolution of people. The Kabbalah, from what I have been educated on, is not good. The Talmud at the temples is not good from what I've been educated on. The Pope and all the pedophilia that we've seen come out in the last 10 years, that can't be good.
well, the Pope is Catholic, right?
Yes.
Who does the Christians have to go in the...
Jesus.
So instead of...
God, Lord, Jesus.
So the Pope doesn't believe in Jesus?
I think the Pope believes in God.
Well...
Because Catholicism is, I think, a type of Christianity.
Let me ask you something.
So maybe they both are the same, but have different principles.
If the Catholic believe in God and the Christians believe in Jesus, Jesus was God's son, the Christians don't believe in God? Or they don't look up to God, they look up to Jesus, which is God's son.
I think that the Catholics look to God and the Christians look to Jesus.
So the Christians don't believe in God?
I'm not sure.
They must.
I think that they say that Jesus died for everybody's sins.
Okay.
Well, how could Jesus have died for everybody's sins if he had no idea how sinful the world would be?
But we're looking...
Why wouldn't he live to teach?
All right, but aren't we...
We're just this uneducated.
Aren't we praying or churching our church? Isn't that to our Maker, our God?
You mean aren't
So it
churches...
would all be... So why aren't all religions looking at the same person? You know what I mean?
I understand that, and I can't answer that because I think that every religion feels that they have to have their own leader, but this is just my opinion. I was not educated enough about religion, and once you start researching about religion yourself, you almost go down this weird, this religion leads you into this principle or this theory or this passage. Then you go to try to understand the passage, and it almost directly tells you that it's written this way because of another religion thinks this way. So all the religions, in my opinion, really bash other religions. I don't know if there's any religion that says, you know what, it's okay for them not to believe what we believe, because God has made all these different religions for all these different people on the earth to have a choice to follow. Because not everybody can fit into one container. I've never seen a religion say that. All I've ever seen is one religion frown or look down upon an opposing religion. So how can we sit here and try to be educated about this? We could probably sit here for hours and be like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? I feel like that's a direct reflection on the New World Order being pushed so hard for so many decades, because we are sitting here as two very grown adults admitting that we have not been taught by even society. If our parents or school failed, society has not picked up the slack to teach citizens about religion, why there's different religions, why a religion is supposed to be beneficial. What kind of person are you if you believe in a certain religion?
I mean, you said that you think all religions pray to someone different.
It appears to be.
Well, my thought was, when we go to church in Lake Pleasant, I pray to God.
But I don't think we are, because when we start our church, there's no mention of God or Jesus anywhere in the, well, wait a minute, in the book of hymns that somehow between when we went and when we just went this last time, they had the hymn board like a Catholic church would have.
Yep.
And they had a hymn book.
Yep.
That Russ knows nothing about. He hasn't seen that. And a lot of the things in that mention God or Jesus. But in church at the TNSA, did you ever sit in on what do they call it, a sermon that spoke of God or spoke of anything of the such?
I don't know. I can't remember.
That feels a little occulty to me. There has to be God. How come God was taken out of being able to be said every morning? I went to school, and when I went to school, after the bell rang and you were in homeroom, you stood up, and over the microphone, they announced the Pledge of Allegiance. And you stood up and you put your hand over your heart and you said the Pledge of Allegiance, and it included the word God. And then I had a child, and I'd say as she was in the maybe 5th grade or so,
they took it out?
It was a huge thing. They took it out because they didn't want to offend those people who did not believe in God. But the offense that they placed and imposed on people who do believe in God was overlooked and not at all an issue. And then that, to me, is just another way that society is slowly bleaching out the whole theory of being and having a God and being right and trying to be good to humankind and to animal kind and to other people. When me and you are out and we see somebody that doesn't look dangerous struggling, 9 times out of 10, we stop. Now, I know there was that person in Holyoke a week or so ago that tipped over in the wheelchair on the sidewalk, and we did not stop. But we also were in traffic, a very busy city we're not used to. There's a lot of other people around who could have gotten there quicker and probably did, but it still made me feel like a bad person.
It would.
So I don't think, to answer your question, we can have one religion because we can't all fit into one container.
Yeah, I can see that. But how many containers do we have to fit in? And we aren't in some ways we aren't even close. You know, I understand that some religions would, you know, if we were in Afghanistan, you know, they obviously would think that they would pray to a different God. We don't, I mean, the pictures of God or Jesus even that we see are, you know, it's a white man. Now, I guarantee you the Japanese don't think of their God as being like that. So how's that work?
It's a very good point. And I don't even have an answer.
I think that humans have plain old just evolved. I think we started out as possibly a very small type insect or creature, and slowly over thousands of years we became who we are.
I often sometimes have asked myself if religion even exists on any level. Not because I need to see to believe, but because the point you brought up that there's so many different religions. And if we can't all agree on anything in religion,
how do you know it's true?
Doesn't that seem like another tool to get people against each other and hating each other?
Doesn't this sound kind of like the auto manufacturers? Some people say that Fords are the best cars in the world, and some people say, oh no, it's Chevy.
You're right.
And some people say, no, it's Toyota.
Right.
And some people say you gotta have a BMW.
So you're saying that religion's almost like a brand.
It's kind of, I don't know. Like I said, it's frustrating. How do you put so much of your life into something that you can't explain?
That is faith.
You're right, yeah.
And I think that I know and you know that I'm capable of knowing things.
You know,
okay?
What is it we've been talking about probably for the last few weeks, and I say something just doesn't add up to me. I need to see the facts of this. I can't see just, you know, somebody saying
the Walmart FEMA camps.
It's either that or something. You know, it's like, why? Explain to me what it's really gonna do, and I still don't kind of see it. It doesn't add up. There's something weird. You know, something's happening. I mean, why would they put barbed wire and chain link fence around it? Well, I don't know. The only thing I could think of for that was you get a lot of people like that, and you could wind up getting bad people in there that are going after the good people, and you have to separate them. And where would you put them? You have to put them somewhere. And it sounds kind of cruel, but what are you going to do?
Getting off the religion track and going over towards worldly issues, I just want to finish up about religion and just say there's so much I don't know, that when we have all these different people believing in different things and hating people because they believe in different things, I wish the theory or the idea of having everybody know what they're praying for and know what they're praying to, it is sort of appealing, but it's not, because it would make everybody have to believe in the same stuff, and I know there's too many people out there that I don't believe in what they believe in.
You know, even in the early 1900s, I'd say the early 1900s, people were living, you know, their town, they'd walk into town or ride in a little buggy or something, but they would work like Monday through Saturday, and they would all go to church. And if they went to church, they all went to the same church. That's the only church they had. How did this come from that to this, where I can't even guess how many religions there are? I don't know.
I took a test on the internet, and it was like a 30-minute test. And there were so many questions that it made me believe that there were well over 50 or 100 religions that I could have ended up being based on my answers of this test. And in fact, it would be very interesting for me to perhaps OBS me actually taking that test online, But see, I don't feel like what I believe in and what I think as far as religion is everybody's business. I believe that I'm comfortable enough telling people that I'm a Christian spiritualist, and as you know, I can do some clairvoyant stuff, and I do not dabble with black magic. I do not dabble with dark art. I do not believe or support or do anything that is occult, right? So knowing that, I have to reflect on myself and just say that whatever is going on out there for religion, I would have appreciated and respected my parents having educated me or given me the path to educate myself, which I'm doing now, to be able to understand, because faith is why I think religions have lived so long. There's plenty of people out there who don't need to see to believe. Then you got these wackos who are selling a piece of toast on eBay because it has a picture of Jesus on it, or the Mother Mary, or whatever. But there's so many questions that I have about these religions that one question leads to another question, and then it almost comes across as me being disrespectful. And I'm not being disrespectful about asking all these questions. It's just certain things don't make sense to me. They say that Mary never had sex and immaculately conceived Jesus. Well, then you go to another religion and they say that Mary was, a street worker who got knocked up by somebody else besides her husband's kid and never wanted to tell her husband. So you have all these smear campaigns going on behind religions. The only thing I want is to know that if I'm praying, that my prayers are doing good for the world and myself. And that if I need to have faith in something, that I know what I'm having faith in, instead of all these gray areas or all these questions. We have crosses in our house. We don't have any pictures of Jesus nailed to these crosses or anything, because that disturbs me. If that were my religion, I wouldn't want to evolve into the path that honors him on the cross dying for everybody's sins, because that disturbs me. I would rather think of him in a different thing. Almost like when people know they have somebody who's going to die. We have a fish right now that's not doing too good, and I told you in the morning to check it, because I want to remember that fish the way I knew it. So I almost would prefer these religions that have these gory icons or leaders. If they could, why couldn't they have had Jesus instead of nailed to the cross? Why not have him in a field with his sheep, or teaching people, a picture of him teaching, a Sunday school class or something, to show that he's passing his education on to the next generation? I don't know why. So at this point in time, I know I believe in God. I do believe in reincarnation. That knocks me out of a couple religions right there. Catholics do not believe in reincarnation. It's heaven or hell. I think Christians actually don't believe in reincarnation. It's heaven or hell. So I don't know. But that's kind of where I'm at, and it's an ongoing process. I'm a work in progress when it comes to this. And as long as I have the ability to learn and educate and research, then I'm going to have the ability to have more understanding and be a more well-rounded, knowledgeable soul and human. And I don't want to learn religion to preach and be a Bible thumper. I want to learn religion so I can have some way of having a foundation in my life that I know no matter what happens to me, as long as I'm trying to be a good person, that when my time comes, I don't have to be scared. And knowing that I am with God and God is with me allows me to not have as much fear of dying, especially if we do reincarnate. I would hope that I get to be with my family. Okay, I don't have family, but I would hope I get to be with you or our kids. But other than that, I don't really know how any of it works, why it works the way it is, why the world has so many religions, and why every religion has their own god or whatever.